Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody on the Central and East Coast time zones, and good morning to everyone else. Thank you guys for joining us here today. We're going to go ahead and get started here right at the hour as people join us. We'll go ahead and obviously allow them in, and we are recording this. So if you have anybody at your organization that wasn't able to make this, or that you feel that they would benefit from this, you can let us know. We'll be sending this out to everybody that registered. All right, so getting started here. My name is Steve Showalter. Many of you may know me. Those of you that don't, I am the Director of Sales here at Scanforce and also a partner, and I'm going to be walking you through this today. Going over a quick agenda, we're going to do a Scanforce introduction. To any of those of you that have joined our webinars in the past, this is going to probably be a big review on that first portion of that. Although we do understand there are some people that are joining us here today that maybe haven't seen anything from Scanforce. And so we'll want to go ahead and touch on who we are, what we do, and those types of things. Keeping with the theme of what we put out there for this webinar, we do want to touch on some hidden pitfalls that we're seeing people experience that are short-staffed this day and age. That's kind of a common theme that we've seen across all industries. People having difficulty having people show up for work, people with COVID restrictions, people actually being sick, things of that nature. We're going to then go into some just basics of WMS. We feel that sometimes the basics of what the benefits and why people look to WMS can get overlooked, especially when things are going a little crazy in an organization. It's good to stick to the basics and cover those. Moving beyond that, there are some pretty cool new things that we've done. And some things that we find are very popular this day and age as well. And we've categorized that under an advanced features and tools section. And then I want to show you some of those things too. So I'm going to demo some of the product for you guys. We are keeping this just to half an hour so we don't take up too much of your day. And we will leave some time at the end for some Q&A. All right, so getting started with the Scanforce introduction here. Those of you that don't know us or aren't familiar with us, we do mobile development, specifically tied into ERP systems. We've been doing this for a very long time. Our solutions run on mobile devices, be it an Android device, iOS device. We even have solutions that are running on PCs. And the idea is centered around an easy-to-use solution, keeping a lot of features and functions that are pertinent to organizations that tie once again into that ERP, and centering around inventory control and inventory management solutions, not only just from the controlling inventory with the basics of shipping, receiving, but all the way through into manufacturing solutions. You know, what products am I using for manufacturing, tracking labor, and things of that nature. We've been doing this for a long time, as I mentioned, just kind of some basics on us. Speaking to our experience, we didn't just start doing this yesterday. We don't just have 2 or 3 clients. One of the key components of what has set us apart over the years is the way that we have, and we have it worded here this way, we've perfected a solution that works whether you're connected or disconnected. So Scanforce's solutions are designed to be as real-time as somebody wants them to be, or as they can be in terms of the environment. If you're disconnected, you still need to be able to do things like data lookups, data validations, but it also needs to be reading and writing back real-time to your ERP system. So that's the best balance that makes Scanforce provide truly mobile solutions. And then just as some notable customers, these are the ones that we feel people can kind of recognize by name. It's always shocking to me, and I'm sure some of you out there that are either in certain industries or if you're partners dealing with customers, it's always shocking to see what size companies there are out there that maybe aren't household names. So we have quite a few large customers as well that might not fit under the notable names here as well. All right. The last thing I want to touch on before we start getting into the meat of today is just what Scanforce has. Some of you may simply know us from just the WMS side of things. So we have 3 versions of that solution, from fundamentals onto advanced and into premium. Fundamentals, I would say, is obviously our entry level. That's just getting a hold of the receiving and shipping functions, where you can also do things like inventory counts and moves. Moving all the way into premium, where we do some, I'll say, pretty fancy things, leveraging multiple locations by bin locations, doing things with automatic allocations and things of the such. We also do label printing. That kind of goes hand in hand, and is often I've categorized this as almost the unsung hero of a successful solution. Many organizations this day and age have barcodes on products coming in. And Scanforce is flexible enough to recognize what we term alias barcodes there. So we can leverage existing barcodes. But also there's a lot of situations where you need to print the barcodes. Maybe they don't have the right information or all of the information you want on them. Maybe they just don't exist. And Scanforce has that seamlessly integrated into our mobile programs, whether it's the receiving, in manufacturing, or even on the shipping side. Or if somebody needs to, you can trigger the thermal labels that we design right from your Sage system. So it's flexible in terms of designing however you want the labels to look, to also having them within the actual mobile programs. Another solution that we have many people using, I feel like it sometimes is forgotten, so I want to make sure we mention it, is a mobile sales application. Again, runs on iOS, Android. Simply allows you to create sales orders, invoices, quotes, even credit memos out in the field, be it from a tablet, smartphone, device with a built-in scanner. We have some people using them at countertops on a PC with an attached scanner as well. It allows you to even print off an invoice, or what most people are doing in this day and age is simply emailing off an invoice right from that mobile device, capturing signature, and it ties directly into the Sage 100 database, so it respects all pricing hierarchies, adding items. You'll see that right away in your mobile app, as well as, again, being able to see quantity levels and things of that nature within other warehouses too. So it's pretty robust and pretty flexible. Then the last thing before we get into this is our manufacturing. So we do everything from automating bill of materials. We have options within that where you can backflush components or have it prompt the user through components. There's even a staging or picking of components before you actually do the production entry. We have a make-to-order application that I'm going to touch on a little bit more here later on. Our labor management console, and then just our general automation and integration with production management module that does work with the DSD Scanforce multi-bin. Now, one thing I don't have up here on the slide, but I do want to mention to some of you is I know from at least what I saw on the registration list, we do have some partners on here that deal also with the Sage Intact solution, and Scanforce has entered into an agreement with Sage, starting with the Intact solution, where our solution will be white labeled as the Sage inventory automation solution. So we're obviously very proud of that. We've worked very hard over the years, provided a very solid, stable solution that's been recognized. And to fill a gap that Intact has, Sage turned to us, and we're excited to answer that call. So for those of you, again, on the Intact side of things, you'll be seeing some more information coming out on that one. And just Scanforce continues to, build and strengthen our relationship with Sage on all levels. All right, let's get into what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So one of the things that when you're dealing with, which we'll touch on here, things such as labor shortages and needing people to be up to speed and on board quicker, is a solution that makes sense to use and works for you. One thing is that our solutions work quickly. There isn't a lag on the mobile programs. A lot of you are probably sick of hearing us talk about this, but it's a very big deal. We did a 1,000,000 record challenge. Basically, what we did was loaded 1,000,000 records into Sage and then synced the mobile device with them. And when you scanned it for validation, it was 300ths of a second. It was actually slightly less than that. So the faster you are, the more productive you are. And obviously, time equals savings then. You have to have a solution that's easy to maintain, easy to install, easy to train, easy to use. We have up here, what do I do next? You never want someone asking that. So our solutions are very easy to use. And the last thing that I have up here is support. Any of you dealing with any kind of software, obviously, there are times where you're going to need support, be it from the initial onboarding with the solution to maybe a settings change or just turnover in your organization. But Scanforce's support is second to none. We track that. We pay attention to Net Promoter Scores, seeing what our customers are saying about us, and making sure that we stay well above the industry standard for that. So let's touch on now the hidden pitfalls of overcoming staffing issues. So the things that we're hearing in the market is that people are now having to wear multiple hats. Maybe somebody that was simply in charge of shipping before now has to handle receiving. Somebody that was in charge of simply restocking bins now has to step up and do additional work. So what it's causing is a lot of our customers and our prospects, their people in their organization are becoming overworked and overstressed, and what ends up happening is productivity falls. So basically what we look at is, how are we helping that out? So how do we overcome that? So solutions would be, we've helped to start identifying roles and responsibilities, Some of this may seem a little elementary, but it's easy to lose track of when you're in an environment like we are today. You need to clearly define your objectives. What is the objective of each employee as an organization, but also down to the actual employee itself? Who's doing what? What's the objective there? And then biggest thing that we've been able to help out with is leveraging technology. Technology, obviously, in most cases, the hope is it's going to make life easier. And that also ties into a mantra of ours is technology not for the sake of technology, but to actually make sense and to provide a benefit. And that's what the Scanforce solutions are doing. All right, let's talk about some of the WMS basics that we sometimes, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, can tend to lose sight of sometimes. So the first thing I'll talk about is obviously a WMS solution, it controls inventory. That's one of the biggest things. It's easy to lose track of that. When things are busy, and if you don't have the proper solutions and systems in place, you can really lose track of that, which is going to cause you to, not realize what you have to ship out to customers, or think you have things and you can't get things out to them. Automating processes is key. When we implement a Scanforce solution, we are assisting and helping to eliminate some of the processes of data entry and then transaction creations there. So that's a big component of a WMS solution that really can benefit, especially in times like we're seeing right now, automating processes. And overall, what this does is this increases accuracy. So with a Scanforce solution, I mentioned earlier, data validations, whether it's when you're connected or disconnected, having accurate data at your fingertips is paramount. And then the last one I have listed here is gaining efficiencies. And the biggest way that you can do that is not just from our software and the way that it behaves, but just scanning of barcodes. So the ability to leverage that in this day and age is key. You don't want to have those, and it ties into some of the other points here, but you don't want to have the cumbersome situations of writing data down, then having somebody key it in, hope it was written down right, hope it was keyed in right. Scanning and having that data validation instantly and a tap of a button, automating processes, really kind of brings it all together. Now let's get into some of the advanced features and tools is the way that I have this highlighted here. Some of these are some standalone components. Some of these are in addition to our warehouse automation and warehouse management series. So the first one I want to touch on here is pallet tracking. We've talked about this for a while. It's actually out now. We actually have the solution working. So what is it? This is the most basic way I can think of this is. Pallet tracking is also sometimes termed license plating, but it's the grouping of items together. And what it does is it ties it back to a simple ID barcode, either a pallet barcode or a license plate barcode. So with our solution, you're able to do things like simply scan that, and it knows what all the items are grouped together there. Back in your Sage system, you're able to see what items are grouped together by, again, pallet, but it also could be considered through a package. It may not be a true pallet. It really, at the core of it, is simply grouping items together. When would it be used? Well, when you want to select or move items that are grouped together. Also on this, it should be listed here when you're picking or doing any transaction. So it's when you want to select for picking, let's say, I don't need to go grab and scan every single item that is grouped together in a package or a pallet. I scan one barcode and boom, it knows that. The next part of this is who would need this? Well, this ties into what I was just talking about there. I want to go scan one barcode. If I'm tracking lot and serial numbers, I sure as heck don't want to go scan every single item and then also scan the serial numbers or the lot numbers if there's multiple lots for that entire package or pallet. This makes it easy. It's just one scan, and the solution knows all the data tied to that particular pallet ID tag. And again, items that remain grouped or packaged together, if you receive in by a pallet and it's all shrink wrapped and you sell it out that way as well, you don't need to go ahead and break that down and go through it and scan it every single time you go to do something. Put a pallet ID tag on there and move on, just gaining efficiencies. Next one, we've actually done webinars on this. I'll move through this pretty quickly. It's our make to order. So what is it? It's really just a link for those of you that do manufacturing or assembly. It's a link from sales order entry in your Sage system to work ticket entry in production management. It's used for companies that tend to do what we have heard referred to as like a produce to demand. You're going to go ahead and you need to create these items or assemble these items based on the demand, which is the sales orders then. So right from creating a sales order, you're going to want to go ahead and create that work ticket. People who are doing assembly or manufacturing items, and basically tying into that previous point there, it's if you're going to build to the demand of your sales orders. You don't want to have to leave one screen to go into another to launch that. Right from your sales order entry screen, you can go ahead and launch this. There's quite a bit of options as far as how that can be set up. It's extremely flexible. I encourage you to check out our previous webinars on this if you have any interest, or contact us as well. We can get into more details. One other component here that ties into what I'm going to show you guys here in a little bit and talk about more is allocations. So what is it? It's the assignment of an item on a sales order from a specific location. And when is it used as part of the important part of this? In sales order picking and shipping, and it links into the directed picking concept. So when you have allocations occur, it's reserving an item from a particular location. It can even be a specific lot or serial number then. And what happens is that allows us to have the data to now tell somebody where to go through the warehouse. So who needs this? It's companies that want to have the most efficient way to do an order pick. It's basically routing a user through the warehouse, and you have to, again, have that allocation. It helps out with just demand as far as your quantities, having things tied to specific orders so you can see exactly what's left over, but it ties into that efficiencies that are gained on the mobile side of things as well. Another concept, tying it around, oh, this is going to be weird. I don't know why it didn't, there we go, out of order there. This ties into the order picking side of things is the splitting of a sales order, so split picking. What it is the separation of a sales order based on predetermined criteria. So we have the ability to go in and say, here's our rules on how we want to split an order. Maybe it's by number of lines, number of pickers, bin locations, and you set that so that the order is split out. It's used when you have a sales order, a large number of line items. So if I have a large order, I want to split this up. Our split picking can do that. We actually have customers that we've talked through that were spending 30 minutes to an hour a day simply just sorting out orders for people to go ahead and pick and separating them out. So it's basically allowing them to say now, multiple pickers can go pick the same order at the exact same time. Basically, businesses with large sales orders for one particular customer are the target audience for this. So if I have one large order, again, I want to split it up and pick it as fast as possible with multiple people playing a role in that. Splitting picking is the best way to go with this. Now, this next one ties into not only the shipping side of things or picking, but also the receiving. So waves. So it's wave receiving and wave picking. Some of you may have heard us talk about, or maybe even have our container receipt management. That's very similar to this grouping of sales orders, grouping of purchase orders together. So what is it? It's a grouping of POs and or sales orders together. So on the receiving side, you can group purchase orders together. On the shipping side, it's really could be thought of as the opposite of that split picking that I was talking about, where you have a lot of small orders and you want to go pick them all at once. You group them together into a wave or batch. You'd use it if you have multiple POs, for example, that arrive on a container or a truckload. On the flip side of that, multiple sales orders and you picked at the same time, you can wave or group them together. Common customers that use this would be people that purchase from overseas. So you have a container coming from overseas. Our container receipt management allows you to actually receive in those items, show them on your books, but not have them available yet to receive in until you physically receive them in. Or it could just be simply, as I mentioned, a truckload comes in. You have a bunch of purchase orders that are all together. You want to group them together. You don't want to have to sort them. You want to just simply go through that container or truckload and receive all of them in. That's what our solution allows on the receiving side. The other side would be a high volume of sales orders. Again, those low line item sales orders and a bunch of them together, it allows you to go through and pick them all at one time. All right, now let's get into a demo here of what I want to show you guys as it relates to the scanning side. So I'm going to show you guys two things. So the first thing I want to show you guys is how we do that wave creation. So there's the ability to create a wave from the mobile device. I could go in and scan sales orders. If somebody hands me 4 sales orders, I don't have to go pick those individually. I can wave or group those together, and then it'll actually do the sorting for me. So I walk the most efficient route of my warehouse, picking all the orders at one time. However, we have had a number of customers, and the majority of them these days are wanting to predetermine, like I mentioned on the split picking, predetermining how you want to separate an order. Well, a lot of customers want to predetermine how you group orders together, and this is from our management console. We previously had a version of this where you could do this within your Sage system, but it basically reset every time you had to enter in your different criteria, and there weren't as many sort or filter options to create the wave as there are now. So what you would do is you would go into your wave, and I went ahead and already selected, I've created a new wave order here. You can put in a description for this wave, so we can say Scanforce webinar as an example. You have your wave status here, which is open. You have in progress, and then held and completed actually remove those waves from having access from the mobile devices. So if I wanted to go ahead and put one on hold for a minute, I don't want anybody to accidentally start picking this, I can go ahead and control that within here. What I also can do now is I can click on Add Orders to the Wave. Oops, pull it up on a different screen. Let me pull it over here for you guys. Okay, so you can actually start to search by orders with a whole list of criteria here. So we have order number, order date, you have customer. I can expand this out. I have warehouse, ship via, and what I can do is actually, if I don't care about this particular column, I can actually right click from here and I can say hide this column. Okay, that goes away then. On the flip side, I could actually go ahead and right click and go into my column chooser, and I can add anything that's listed here, even UDFs that are in the sales order header. If that's one criteria that you want to use to go ahead and create your wave or grouping, that can be added here and selected here. I can also then, this one that I have it defaulting to is my warehouse code. So I have it saved over here to all my orders for warehouse 000. I also have orders that are shipped by FedEx, and then I can clear that down here if I wanted to, and here's all my sales orders again. If I wanted to, I could do it by ship date, order date, and I could even select all the orders. This would create one massive wave of all of my orders, but then I can go ahead and deselect these as well. And then what you can do is under our settings, where my mouse is right here, I'm not going to get into that based on the amount of time we have here, but under settings, you can actually determine how the allocations that I mentioned earlier occur. So I can group all my orders together, and then it can look to the oldest order number first or the oldest order date first. There's a whole list of options there as far as how you can control this wave to go. Again, I can go ahead and now save this and say I want to look at all my orders that are in warehouse 000. I can say, yep, let's select all of these. Let's create one massive wave. And then you can continue on from there. We even have a fulfillment percentage that ties in with the multi-bin as well. This allows me to say, I want to see all orders that I can 100% fill. Let me actually close out of this as far as clearing this is concerned. Here are all my orders again. I can actually go in here and say, all right, I want all my orders that I can fulfill 100%. Well, apparently my quantities are terrible, my demo data. So if you wanted to, though, you could create a wave based on what orders can I actually fill by 100%, and it would show you just those orders. You can go ahead and also state that you wanted all orders that you can maybe half fill. See if I have any of those that I can fill. One. So you can get an idea here of the flexibility in terms of how you create your wave, what criteria you want to go ahead and have them grouped by, even all the way through the fulfillment option there. So I only fulfill orders that maybe if I don't want to deal with back orders, I'm going to keep it at 100% and go from there. All right, so what we can do is let's clear out the fulfillment. Let's just go ahead and create a wave for warehouse 100. Or I'm sorry, 000. Oops, let's switch over here. Let's go. There we go. I can select all of these, and then you can add select orders to the wave, and it's creating the wave for me here. Now, again, on the mobile device, what it would do is it would actually then sort these by their bin locations. What it's going to do now is, based on the allocation methods that I have configured in my settings options there, it's going to do the automatic allocations or that reservation from a bin location, which will allow me to go ahead and have the data on my handheld where our programs, without anybody doing anything else, are going to go ahead and sort and direct you by bin location so I can walk my warehouse one time and stage all these orders. Furthermore, it changes the status of these orders from open to now picked. So in our dashboards, you can actually see the progress of an order as it goes through. We can do things like set the system so that you can not then do the final shipping or that checking and packing until an order has been completely picked. So there's a lot of options within there as well. But again, this is a great way to control what orders are being grouped together. Now, because it's going to put a lot of orders in there from the handheld side that I want to show you guys here, I just have a simple order. I want you guys to get a visual of what it looks like to have the directed picking. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up an order here. This is a simulation of our mobile app. No matter what device you launch this on, this is what it looks like. Obviously, the devices are typically touchscreen. I'm going to navigate with the mouse here just for demo purposes. Here's our main menu. In order processing, I'm just going to go into sales order shipping. I'm going to do a lookup here, and here are all my orders. Now, scanning a barcode for the order number is the fastest way to do this. In the search option here, I actually could look by customer name or sales order number, and it would filter that for me. I'm simply just going to scroll down to the bottom and grab an order here. And what it does here on the device, this is, again, the visual I want you guys to see here. So I'm doing a one-step, not a pick, and then a pack and ship. I'm doing it in one step here. You can actually group orders together by packages. So if you're using Starship, for example, for shipping, you're able to, as you go ahead and pack up this order, indicate what items are in each package. So then it calls up Starship and you can complete your shipping process. It also sorts these items and it'll list them out. If I were to pull up that sales order, I actually entered in item 6655 first, but because the bin location is quote unquote after this bin location, it's telling me to go grab this item first. So I can highlight from this screen. That could be disabled if you want to force the user to go ahead and scan the item. It tells me the bin location. I confirm that, indicate my quantity, and I move on. I can go to package 2 and continue on from there. If I were to scan or key something incorrect, whether I'm connected or not, I get that instant data validation. Let's go ahead and grab the right item. And I could say, for example, that 5 fit into this package, and then I need to even go one more package. So you can split an item across packages as well. And again, that's simply just going to go ahead and write back to shipping data entry in my Sage system. I accept. Oops, I need to go ahead and send it over. There's the validation side again. I accidentally clicked it too many times. To push your data over now, all you do is hit this arrow up here. If I had skipped lines, first of all, they'd be showing up there for me, but it would also give me an actionable dialog box telling me that I have unresolved lines, meaning something was skipped, which I have to either acknowledge or I can go fix before now sending my data back over to my Sage system, which imports over and creates the shipping data entry transaction for you. So again, wanted to show you guys how you can create those waves as an example, but also wanted to show you guys how that directed picking that leverages that bin allocation makes it extremely easy for the user. So whether it's onboarding a new employee, they can go pick orders from day one, from hour one. Or if it's just simply somebody that's not used to doing that, they can jump right in and be extremely versatile and allow you to do more with fewer people and less resources. So we have a couple minutes. I do want to keep my word and open it up for some questions here. So Darcy, I believe you're hopefully still on the line. Did any questions come through?
We do have one. What does wave picking look like with lot numbers?
So great question. So if you have it predetermining the lot numbers, you can do things like, for example, allocate the oldest lot number first if you wanted to do true FIFO. And what it would do is it would display that on the device for you. And then we can validate that so that the user can't pick a different lot number, or we could simply tell them where to go and allow them to pick a different lot if they see a different lot in front of them. But it would actually be a component of data on that screen. Another thing that I'm now thinking it would be great, I should have grabbed a screenshot of, when you're doing wave picking, it can also display the order number, because we have some people that actually are waving, let's say 5 orders together as an example, and they're taking a cart through. And yes, they're picking all 5 orders at that same time. But if a single item is on several different orders, they still group on the cart, let's say, those items separately. So they are separated out, but they're still walking the warehouse one time. So that's another component of data that we provide you on the device too, is the order number. All right, any other questions?
We don't have any other questions.
All right, I either lost everybody or did a good enough job explaining it, but I will tell everyone here, let me go ahead and pull up my screen again here very quickly. Here is our contact info. If you guys have any questions, want to dive into this a little further, if this maybe kind of sparked your brain to think of something else you guys need that you think that we should have or wish we had, let us know. Maybe we do. We have an extensive list of enhancements. Please reach out to us. You can reach out to me directly, or even sales@scanforce.com goes to our entire department. But yeah, I appreciate everyone's time here today. And again, let us know if you guys have any other questions.